Hey, my beautiful bitches, it's me, Fiona St. James, and welcome to another episode of Fiona's Coffee Talks. And as always, I like to start off every day with a fresh, hot, black cup of coffee. Hold the cream! I'd love to. And of course, I think of my favorite quote of the century by Oscar Wilde, which says, "Life is too important to be taken seriously, so lighten up, folks. Because listen, in a minute, we ain't all going to be here forever anyway, so enjoy it while you can." So today's topic is, drum roll please, Life of a Dancer Part 2. Yay! So hopefully you saw Part 1, which is really just a brief overview. So, Part 2. So, as I said, being born and raised in the Bronx, we were living, I grew up in an area called Parkchester, which is, my parents still live there. It's a three-bedroom condo that I grew up in, and they are the sister to Stuyvesant Town and Peter Cooper Village in Manhattan. So in Parkchester, there was whatchamacallit, a school of dance, Vicky Shear's School of Dance, that probably doesn't even exist anymore, but it did way back when. So being the youngest of four, my parents decided that they were going to enroll us to take tap classes, tap dancing classes. So I think when we did that, I was maybe like 7 or 8. Uh, and it was interesting too, because when I think about it, it's not like they asked us, they didn't ask us kids, "Oh, do you want to take tap classes?" It was sort of like, "You're going to take dance class." And it was specifically tap. And I remember like when we used to go, I think every Saturday, and it was a 5-minute walk from our apartment. And because it was like an ongoing thing when we got there, like there were already students there. And it was primarily all these little girls, but we are 2 boys and 2 girls. So, and I guess they were already like, they had already like preset little like dances that they were going to do that were for an upcoming recital. So, like, we joined, we started attending classes, and then apart from like, the what we would all do, then they would like, okay, now this group, whoever was doing whatever particular dance, so then they kind of created a dance for us, and where it was just the four of us, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. Tap wasn't necessarily like my favorite thing. It's definitely a little technically more difficult, I think, compared to the other like modern or jazz or ballet. But that's what we started with. But I do remember I loved it. Like, just the fact that we were moving, and even back then I was like really good at like picking up the choreography, and I've always had a good knack for that. When it comes to dancing, it just always came very naturally for me. But I remember we didn't do it that long. We did it maybe, I don't know, 5 6 months, like less than a year, and I was loving it. My parents even bought us our tap shoes, and I was all of 7, and when I was 7, I looked like I was 4. And I've always looked a little young for my age. But then maybe it wasn't even 5 6 months, maybe just like 4 months. So we're going week after week, and then all of a sudden there was a recital coming up. But the truth of the matter is, like the other kids that were in the classes, because they had already been going, they had their act pretty solidified. And we didn't. I mean, we were going once a week, and, 4 months later to like try to do this big thing, this big number, uh, I was fine with it and I wanted to do it. But I seem to recall that then it became this whole thing with like, outfits, and you had to spend all this money. And, we weren't like poor or anything, but my parents at that point, I don't think my mother was working. It was just my father. And because raising a family and having 4 kids, and we were all born a year apart, so one right after the other, can be a little expensive. And I think also what happened was then my siblings were, they didn't want to do it because they're not really performers. I mean, I even back then was, and I wanted to do it, but all of a sudden, like, I think between the cost of like getting the costumes and all that stuff, and I don't know if maybe we even had to like pay to be in it, but And then my siblings were like, we don't want to do it. So we ended up like, dropping out of it, which I remember I was a little bummed because even if we weren't doing the performance, I wanted to continue studying, but I was outnumbered, so that didn't happen. But it did last like 4 months, uh, and it at least let me know even back then how much I enjoyed it, and again that I was like pretty good at picking up the movement. Uh, and then after that, like I was in grammar school, so then of course you're like in the glee club. I was in the school orchestra playing the violin. My mother was a concert pianist, so we had a piano at home, and she taught us piano. So music and that little bit of dancing that I did at that point, it just all really felt natural for me, and I think that's why I ended up in show business my whole life. But that was like the grassroots beginning for me was studying tap for like I said, probably 4 months, and then it took like another minute before anything happened thereafter, dancing wise. But you'll hear more about that as the series progresses. But just want to give you guys that little intro. So this one I think is going to be short. Also, again, I don't have my glasses on, and I'm looking at that. The time thing is in. I was like, "What's that say?" Girl, 60 is a bitch when you can't see shit. Oh, so all right, guys, don't forget thumbs up, subscribe if you have not. As always, thank you for being here with me, and I look forward to the next time. And take care of yourselves and one another. Okay, love you.